Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. I'm going to take about 20 minutes of your life to deliver some amazing content from accomplished leaders and business owners to help provide you with great Ironman mindset ideas to help you scale your business to become a better leader and push yourself out of your comfort zone. We have now doubled our audience. We really hope you enjoy these shows and really encourage you to like and share with friends, family members, and your network. Based on my book, The Ironman Mindset for Entrepreneurs, I want to try and pull out one insight you could take back from your business on every single show. And ultimately, my goal is to try and make you less mistakes than I did and make your company more profitable. I'm also super excited to share that finally we've gone live with our digital courses on the Wilson 360 website, wilson-360.com. Cheers, everyone. Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. Really excited today to be joined by Brad Hill. Brad, good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. We just talked about it's a Friday. We're both about to go home, so we're going to have some fun here, I think.
Yeah, just wrapping it up for the weekend. That's about it.
So tell the audience who you are, your background, which company you're working with right now.
Yeah, so I've kind of grown up in the landscape industry like a lot of people that do landscaping. So I started when I was 8 years old with my brother mowing lawns in the neighborhood and did that for a long time. And after about 4 or 5 years, we kind of ventured into the commercial side of things and started maintaining some hospital campuses around the Denver area and did that all throughout high school. Really fell in love with it. Got a good feel for, residential, commercial maintenance, did a few small installs and things like that. And I'm LDS, so I went on a mission. And when I was coming back, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do long term, what I want to do with my life. And I was looking at different options going into law school, trying to get a business degree. And when I really thought about what made me happy and what I wanted to do, I was like, I just need to be a landscaper. I need to be able to be outside, work hard, and feel satisfied in that arena. So I went to school and got a degree in horticulture and kind of specialized in irrigation systems, a little bit of water management throughout school. And then I worked for a company called Par 3 located here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And currently I'm our director of operations, but that's kind of my background, where I came from and how I landed here. So
cool. No, it's awesome. I know Par 3 well. I think they hosted an event, one of the industry events, facility visits. So I've heard really good things about that visit. Tell the audience a little bit about Par 3, just to sort of give them a scale of your operation.
Yeah, so Par 3 was founded in 1995. Our owner, Paul Jaramello, Vegas was starting to do some really big master plan communities, and Vegas is kind of centered around HOAs. That's what gets developed here just nonstop. So he saw this big need that at some point there's going to be a really big necessity for a company to come in and maintain all these properties that they're building, all these HOAs. And so he founded Par 3 with that vision in mind of maintaining high-end HOA and master plan communities. And so from where we started way back in 1995 to where we are today, that's still our bread and butter is HOAs and master plan communities. But we do trees, irrigation, spray, construction enhancements, pretty much everything that you can think of. We're a full service company. We're doing right around $53 million in annual revenue right now. That's where we ended last year. Great company to work for. And one of our focuses being in the Southwest and especially Las Vegas is water management and irrigation. So that's a big focus for us. That's where we spend a lot of our time and resources. And that's what a lot of our communities ask us for when they're interviewing us to jump on a property. What do you guys have when it comes to water management and irrigation expertise? And so we're able to leverage that. We have two full-time water managers right now. We basically are able to leverage their expertise and their knowledge and take care of those communities.
When I had my company, we had a branch up in Vegas, and I don't think many people are aware of the real extreme shortage of water out there, and then some of the real tough restrictions about water timing and days and stuff like that. So maybe start there, because I know we're going to dive into that water management in more detail, but maybe just start with some of the real extreme challenges you have.
Yeah, for sure. So SNWA, our water authority, they've done a really, really great job about kind of being the forward thinkers when it comes to water conservation here in the Southwest. Las Vegas gets a really, really small allotment of water from the Colorado River. So California gets the majority of it. Arizona gets a big portion. Colorado has some of it. And then Las Vegas gets this tiny little portion of that. And so we've always known that water conservation is going to be more and more important as time goes on. And so instead of kind of trying to figure out when it becomes a crisis, for the last 30 years, they've been ahead of the game creating programs to conserve water. And so a couple of those is limiting when you can water throughout the Las Vegas Valley. So they kind of have sections of the valley divided up. In the summer, you can water 6 days a week and you have your days allotted to you. And then spring and fall, you have 3 days a week. And then in the winter, you basically get 1 day a week to water. And so you got to manage your run times with those big systems, especially on the commercial side of things. It gets a little hard to fit all of those run times into 1 day a week when you're in the winter. So water management is really important for us to be able to understand the complexities of what the landscape needs and then fit it into those requirements that SNWA has given us. Another big part of that too is it was about 2-3 years ago, they released Assembly Bill 356, which is that non-functional turf has to be removed out of all the Las Vegas area. Everything that's under SNWA's jurisdiction, they didn't want turf grass out there anymore wasting water. And so that's been a big initiative for us too. We've been one of the leaders here in the valley of removing turf grass and then going back in with that water management and irrigation expertise to preserve and keep healthy those trees that were used to basically unlimited water. And now they're going back to really harsh conditions of only being able to get water, 1 day a week or whatever it is. And so we've done a really good job on that front too, those different programs that they've put out.
Super cool what you're doing. And I think the restrictions are not just, they shake their fist at you. I mean, there's some serious fines that come along with if you're watering outside of those times and days, correct?
Yep, absolutely. And one thing they implemented just this last year is there's a new tier. So in your water bill, there's usually 4 tiers, and they just implemented like a tier 5 where our water is actually fairly cheap here in Las Vegas. Tier 1 is, $1.50 something. Then you go up to maybe $3 or $4 in tier 4. And then on the residential side of things, if you're using way more than what you're allotted in tiers 1 through 4, then you get hit with it's either $9 or $10 for that tier 5 level. And so it jumps up really, really fast and can hurt if you're not being aware of what you're using outside. So
so that nice dovetail into water management. And I think based on our conversation earlier, you were sort of set with the task of, creating that water management within Par 3 and just developing programs. So tell me a little bit more about how that started, now where you've ended up.
When I started at Par 3 about 5.5 years ago, we were doing water management. There's a guy here who most people know from across the country called Tom Radin, and he's one of the best water managers out there. And he was doing water management for us. We were light years ahead of what everyone else was doing. We were doing master valves, flow sensors, smart controllers, managing these large complex systems that have looped main lines, just all the different issues that you can kind of run into. And when I started, we were doing really great with the water management, but then it was hard to take these systems, put such complex technology on them, and then try and hand it over to the account manager and field laborers to say, hey, we've done our part, we're managing the system, but you guys need to be on the field side taking care of these components and making sure everything's working. And a lot of them didn't understand how they functioned and how they worked. And so I joined Par 3 to ultimately become a water manager. But when I saw that lack of knowledge and efficiency and technical ability on the irrigation side of actually using these components once they were installed, Tom and I partnered up and he led the water management division. And then I started an irrigation division to where we kind of coupled our efforts to standardize our operations, make sure that if we're replacing a valve, we're doing it the same on every single property across the company. We're using the highest quality materials. We're doing it the right way. And then teaching them how to work with smart controllers, what a master valve and flow sensor are there for. A lot of times you'll get a guy that has a master valve and a flow sensor and they don't like it. It prevents them from doing their job and they see a dry spot and now all of a sudden they can't hand bleed the valve. And so it provides a lot of complexities for the guy in the field that's used to going out there and just hand bleeding valves all day because he sees dry spots. And so kind of bridging that gap of, hey, we've got this technology in, don't just go open the master valve and start bleeding all these different valves. If something's wrong, let's figure out what's going on. Let's adjust the run times, let's adjust the different coefficients and make sure that we're doing water management the correct way and letting the controller water the plants. You don't need to be doing that anymore. And so it was a great effort for us to be able to combine resources and build a really high-end division that now not only did high-end installs with smart technology, but then was able to manage them going forward with those guys in the field.
What does that process look like if, one of the guys and girls in the field sees some hot spots, thinks, the easiest thing to do is to turn on the valve. I mean, are they using any type of technology, their phone, calling? What does that that look like, just to sort of try and simplify that process?
We manage probably 10 different smart controller platforms, which is a lot, but we try and get the guys on site to be able to download that manufacturer software on their phone and have access to it. So if they see a hotspot, turn it on from your phone first and foremost. Don't bleed the valve. We need to see if that valve is actually working from the controller. So go on the phone, find the valve, turn it on. And if it doesn't work and you need some help kind of figuring out what's going on, call the irrigation division and we'll help troubleshoot it. And so that's kind of like our first step. If they see something that looks poor, it's starting to fail, it doesn't look right, test it from the phone. If something is beyond your control of, okay, it's not working from the phone, but it is working when I turn it on by hand, we need to go out there and troubleshoot it and make sure we can get it back up and running as quick as possible. And so that's kind of what we've done, is making sure that we have that technology in their hands to where they can operate it and make sure if it's not working from the controller, like that's the most important thing. And so that's our first step in solving those issues.
I just try and imagine what that looks like, because I hear a lot of companies even struggle to get their guys to input time into the phones. Never mind going into a specific irrigation app and trying to figure out where the valve is, the type of system, all that. That must have been a pretty big undertaking just to roll that out to all your different crews.
Yeah, I mean, it still is. So what we've kind of done is on these master plan communities and these big properties, we kind of designate one person to undergo that training and that skill set of being able to work the controller from the phone. So we're not trying to teach, we have 550 employees or so right now. We're not trying to teach 550 people to be on the phone and to do all these different things. But hey, who on this crew has an interest in irrigation? Who wants to be able to help manage the system and be proactive and learn this type of stuff? And you get a lot of volunteers. And so those are the guys that we end up working with, and we kind of designate them. Hey, on this site, you're the guy that's responsible for, if things look bad, coming in and testing it and then letting us know where we need to come in and help you.
How detailed do you get? Because, we would always go in and we would read the water bills for some of our HRAs and just help them keep track of the usage. I mean, to go to that type of detail, and how is all that, I suppose, centralized? Because, I would imagine with so many different systems and smart controllers and data coming in from water bills, trying to manage all that data must be pretty tough.
Yeah, it gets pretty complicated. And I think one of the hardest things when it comes to water management is getting the data back, because most of the time it goes to a property manager and they sit on it for a couple of weeks, and then you're just hounding them. Hey, can I have the water bills? Can I have the water bills? Can I have the water bills? And sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. Sometimes they come in 8 months late, and then it's like, well, we saw this big spike, but we could have solved it if you gave us the water bills on time. Now there's nothing that we can really do about it.
Never heard that before.
Exactly. And so that's been one of the biggest challenges. And one thing that we've done to try and combat that a little bit is sell water management contracts alongside of maintenance contracts. And so instead of waiting on them to give us water bills and kind of always being 30 days behind or so on and so forth, we send a guy to read actual water meters. And so he collects that data once a month, and we're making sure that we go out into the field with our spreadsheets. We can input the actual usage, what that water meter is doing, and then we can catch those spikes in usage or any abnormalities relatively quickly and make some decisions and go troubleshoot and figure out what's going on, to where just waiting on those water bills doesn't provide as much effectiveness in catching things and being a little bit proactive. So properties are willing to pay for it. Some properties aren't. So it's just a matter of us working with them and saying, hey, this provides a lot of value for you when you have a mainline break and you're losing tens of thousands of gallons an hour. We can help you guys figure out what's going on with these different systems with master valves and flow sensors. Or if you've got a couple of stuck valves and you don't have a master valve and flow sensor, we can see spikes in the water bill if we're going out there and reading them, and then help you guys take care of those issues instead of waiting months and months and months for us to kind of catch up. So
how do you keep track? I mean, you know yourself, it's tough to keep up with technology changes and new gadgets, and especially on the irrigation side of things. How do you keep up with trends and updated equipment?
One of the biggest things is maintaining relationships with the manufacturers. We meet with our reps really, really often here. They're always coming in. We're always asking for training too. So we have 21 account managers right now, and what we'll do is we'll reach out to manufacturers and just say, hey, come in. Our account managers might not be actively using the system or making changes in the software. Our water managers doing that, but they need to know how to work these systems and these softwares, and if for whatever reason our water manager is not able to log into the system, at that moment, they have some flexibility to go on in there and help manage those problems. And so having those relationships with them, they're always telling us about what's changing, what's new, all the different updates that are going on. Hey, these are new products. Can you guys try a couple of these out in the field before they get released? Tell us what your thoughts are. Give us some feedback. And so we're involved in a lot of those initiatives too, and testing out the new technology. Hey, I've got a site that would be great to try that new product. Go ahead and send us a couple. We'll put it out there and we'll let you know how it's performing. And then once we do that, we obviously, hey, this is working great. Let's go ahead and put this on a couple more properties and so on and so forth. So having those good relationships with the manufacturers and getting access to those products before they're released becomes really useful too, because then you get to test them and give your feedback. And
I just got off, in fact, it was just yesterday, did a great webinar with Aspire, and we were talking about AI, we're talking about predictive analytics, just being able to decipher data like within seconds.
Yeah.
Is that type of, I suppose, technology or the AI, are you starting to use that in your company for sort of the water management or other uses in the company? Is that coming down the pipeline yet? Or
not as much. We use Aspire, and so they kind of help us manage our day-to-day operations with scheduling and all that kind of stuff. But we haven't gotten so far into AI. Like you said, it's hard to get the field workers to use technology. Par 3 has a really good reputation of hiring from within. So a lot of our managers come from the field, and a lot of them don't necessarily love using the technology. They don't like being stuck at the computer, typing out emails all day and things like that. And so when we try and introduce, like, it was a big uplift to put Aspire into our company and get everyone on board. Just use this software. It's going to make us better. It's going to make your life easier. Trust us. It took 2 years before people were kind of like, all right, I get it. It's starting to work. I'll buy into this a little bit. I think we're probably a little behind the 8 ball in putting AI into what we're doing, but I'll use it. Like if I'm trying to develop a training program for irrigation technicians or whatever it is, I'll kind of go into ChatGPT and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Can you help me put a training program together? Help me formalize it, maybe put some PowerPoints together so that I can just take this into the field and use it really quick. And I've done that multiple times, and it's been great because it basically does 80 to 90% of the work for me. And I just do a little bit of the detail stuff. And then it just helps me train my people faster and be a lot more effective and efficient in what I'm trying to do as a manager, getting that stuff out into the field.
I hear this so frequently. Any companies I go in and help, they really struggle with the inventory, material, ordering, management side of things. Is that something you guys have mastered and you have some type of secret trick up your sleeve that you can share?
I don't think so. But what I did that made things a lot more effective for us, before I came in, we had irrigators running around and they were managing their own schedules. They were managing their own inventory on their trucks, and things were pretty chaotic. They were buying stuff that they already had. They just didn't know necessarily what was there. And then if they needed something and they couldn't find it within a couple of seconds, they'd run to the store and go buy it again. And then when you do an inventory of their truck, you've got 15 of the same thing. And you're like, man, I just saw an invoice for this. Did you really need to go buy that? You had them sitting right there. And he's like, oh, I didn't know. What I did to kind of help with that was a twofold approach. I felt that trucks were horrible for irrigation, like the contractor body, where you've got the toolbars and the pipe racks, or the toolboxes and the pipe racks. It was really ineffective for them being able to organize themselves and know what was in their truck. What do they actually have? And so I started an initiative where we were buying transit vans, and we built them out with shelving, and you could walk into a van and you only get this much room to be able to organize parts in there. So you can see exactly what's in there and what's going on. You're not digging through toolboxes that are, 2 or 3 feet deep trying to find what you need. You basically get a couple inches to stack your parts in there, and everything has to be neat and organized. And all of a sudden, they weren't buying extra things because they knew what they had. It was easy to find, and it was really efficient for them to be able to walk into a van and go, here's my valve. Here's a couple adapters. Let's go get the job done. And when they needed to restock, they could quickly do an inventory and say, this is what I need. This is what I'm going to go buy. So the second part to that was, instead of sending them to the store, I basically took a building that we had on site in one of our yards and converted it into like a little mini distribution house. So instead of them going to Ewing or Site One or Horizon or whatever it was, I would buy all the parts once a month and I would stock our own supply house, and they basically pull from that on a daily or weekly basis. And I tried to get our techs to report directly to the job. It's just more efficient for them to not have to show up in the morning. So keep your truck stocked for about 5 days worth of material. At the end of the week on Friday, come back in, stock back up with everything that everything that you use for that week. And then Monday, you're good to go. You have everything ready. And, come Thursday, Friday, we can restock again. And so those two things made a really, really big difference in us being able to do inventory, be able to organize ourselves and not have us over purchasing or not really knowing what was going on, just being able to have them really organized with what they were doing in the field and then allowing myself to go do the purchasing and distribute it to them internally made a really big difference.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot. I've heard a few people doing that, so that's awesome. And then we're getting close to the end here, but I had a question come up the other day about how do you track your technicians and how they're performing in terms of is there some type of production rate or target for billable every month or some type of KPIs related to irrigation park department? Have you ever sort of come across that, or do you have anything?
Yeah, so we have, probably 15 technicians that we're kind of managing throughout the company right now. And so with Aspire, we're able to track what they're doing in annual revenue or monthly revenue or weekly revenue, kind of whatever it is. And so I have different dials on our dashboards that we're tracking that basically, it's not a competition, but it basically outlines each technician and what they're doing in revenue for that month. Here, some places you have irrigation contracts where you go in, you do inspections, and you make repairs. We don't really have that here. It's basically if something's wrong, the account manager comes to us and says, hey, there's a broken valve on such and such property, go take care of it. And so we're getting all of our work from the account managers. All we do is just track how they're performing. And I think it's right around 250 to 350,000 a year. If they're within that threshold, we know that they're doing okay. And we can kind of take those percentages and say, man, you're a little light for the first quarter or whatever it is. What's going on? Or are we a little slow? Do you need a little bit more training? Why aren't you producing as much as your other counterparts? And so that's kind of how we look at it internally.
Okay, cool. So the account managers and the crews identify the issues, come to the irrigation department, you go out, you schedule your guys based on their schedule.
Yep.
And does that also include, do they do inspections as well, just regular inspections? Or does that just come from the crews in the field?
Yeah, so that's kind of on the crew leaders, field managers, and account managers. It's their property. Right. How we do it internally is they do those inspections. And then through Aspire, there's a pretty seamless process to create an issue that allows us to turn it into a work order and then get it scheduled for the guys. So we try and eliminate the technician from doing any sort of inspection. They should be fixing problems, and that's how they generate that high dollar revenue value, is they're the ones doing the work and the inspections are coming from someone else. And it's the same thing with buying material. They're not the ones buying material. I try and get them actually doing repairs 6.5 hours a day between drive time and lunch and all that kind of stuff. They should legit be doing 6.5 hours of actual billable repairs a day.
All right, that makes sense. No, I love that. That's great information. And I suppose some of the reports you get from back from the smart controllers will also help you identify where there's issues.
So our water managers will say, hey, these are all the alerts that have popped up. On this one, there's a shorted valve. There's an open on this line, And so we get a list of information from those smart controllers too that helps build our pipeline of work.
Brad, this has been a great podcast, a lot of great nuggets that you've shared. If people want to, I suppose, pick your brains a little bit more and maybe reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, they could do that through email. My email is brad@par3landscape.com. Pretty simple. LinkedIn too. I think my LinkedIn is Bradley Hill. So if anyone wants to find me there, that'll work great.
Okay, awesome. Brad, great to talk to you. Thanks for all your shares. Have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah,
we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Okay, cheers. Thanks for tuning in to the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. I'm Robert Clinky-Beard, and I hope today's insights inspire you to push yourself beyond your limits, lead with purpose, and scale your business to new heights. Don't forget to check out our new digital online courses and training programs on the Wilson 360 website, and join the Boss Business Management Software community to optimize your business like never before. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe on YouTube, share it with your network. Let's grow, let's transform the industry together. Until next time, stay inspired and keep striving for greatness. Cheers, everyone.